Hey, welcome back to Counter Mentors. I'm really excited about today's show. We're going to skip our normal kind of funny lead in because we're going to get really into it. And today we're going to talk about emotional intelligence. And now, Pops, let me drive the show today. Since I have the master's degree, we're going to talk about neuroscience and some really important things. So why don't you just let me drive and
neuroscience? You're going to get us some neuroscience today, son. You're going to educate us uneducated types. You're going to help us with your MBA, and we're going to all get on the same page with this here neuroscience and emotional intelligence and stuff. Holy cow, let's get this show rolling.
This is Counter Mentors with Kelly and Robby Riggs. Finally, a place where you can get both perspectives on challenges in the workplace from a boomer and a millennial. The Counter Mentor is the new leader. Join us as we show you how to blend the very best of both generations, young and old. This is Counter Mentors. And here are your hosts, Kelly and Robby Riggs.
Wow, I was trying to have a real introduction and the Pops went all whatever that was. Welcome to Counter Mentors. I'm your co-host, Robby Riggs. Follow me on Twitter at Robby Riggs, and that's the Pops. Follow me on Twitter at Kelly Riggs. Actually, big shout out to the Pops. Just wrote an awesome article on LinkedIn about real examples of leadership, talking about my baby bro Scott and his experience as a firefighter. Go read that article. Find him on LinkedIn. Read that article. It's awesome.
It's got some neuroscience in it, too.
It does. Stop. This is embarrassing. Hey, this is the show where we tell millennials to get with the program and boomers to change the freaking program because it's not working anymore.
Absolutely.
We're really excited to be here and talk about a really, really hot topic, Pops, around emotional intelligence, your EQ. A topic that has become more and more important in the workplace, and one that we're really understanding is a key driver of leadership. And it's one that, hot take, breaking news, millennials have higher emotional intelligence than boomers. But we're going to get there. We're going to get there. I got the data. I got the data to back it up.
You got some neuroscience.
I got the data to back it up.
In 21 shows, that might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard you say.
He's getting old, folks, because this is show number 21.
Yes.
Dang,
yes.
I was hoping I could say something about that. Welcome in. Hey, I know we have a lot of you listening in on the podcast. Thanks again for joining us. Go find us online, countermentors.com. Watch the video pod. We have a ton of fun. You get to see that Pops wears goofy hats. That's real. He actually does wear those in the real world, not just on this show. Come check us out. We're really, really excited. Right now, Pops, hot and heavy, working on our forthcoming book.
So excited about our book,
man,
right?
excited.
Good stuff.
Big shout out to,
I wish I had the cover. I'd show it to people.
That's
but
right.
It's awesome.
Should we do a teaser of the cover? I think I have it right here.
Counter Mentor Leadership: How to Unlock the Potential of the Four-Generation Workplace. But it's gonna be bigger than that, though.
It's gonna be bigger. It's gonna be bigger. That's right. No, we're super excited. We're really, really working with wonderful people at Hachette. Allison and the team there. We're just really, really excited. But what we want to talk about today is emotional intelligence and how critical it is in the workplace, especially for our leaders. Millennial, boomer, X, doesn't matter. If you want to be effective in the chaotic four-generation workplace, you have to engage emotional intelligence. Pops, last week we talked about cell phones, and really that is the archetype for distractions. This week we're talking about emotional intelligence, and you're going to see in the book, we believe that there are some very, very critical obstacles in 2017 and beyond that you have to overcome as a leader. Pops, number one is emotional intelligence. I mean, it's got to be, right?
Yeah, it is. But I'm telling you, you're killing me right now because you led off the top of the show with this nonsense about millennials and how they're way more emotional intelligent than boomers. This is about the biggest crock I have ever heard. So my man, Robby, who you guys know, I mean, I'm proud of my son. He's awesome.
Wicked smart. Wicked smart.
He's got some good teams up there in Boston, but he references this article from some HR magazine that says, quote, millennials have higher emotional intelligence. By the way, did you read?
Mark, when we edit this, we'll pull that out.
No, did you read the comments? I mean, the comments were like, have you lost your mind?
Okay, so we're going to jump right into it. So the esteemed Linda Shaw from London She says, and by the way, she is a cognitive neuroscientist and a business psychologist.
Oh, she's got that neuroscience.
Pops, you're going to have to Google all 4 of those words.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have any idea what those mean.
Hey, here's what they mean. Moron. That's what they mean.
She says, quote, in terms of emotional intelligence, they are much better, of course, alluding to millennials. They are observant, responsive, and they react accordingly. While that is a generalization.
You think?
That is my experience. Cognitive.
What is her experience?
Neuroscientist.
Does she have a data set of 2? I mean, give me a break. Hey, by the way, your boy Simon Sinek would laugh at this deal.
Love our boy Simon.
Oh, yeah,
Sinek.
he's awesome. But he would laugh at this. He's the guy that in his recent talk was talking about, this is how millennials learn how to interact with other people. They swipe left or they swipe right. You know, they never have to actually interact with someone.
Which in its own right is a generalization, because Simon, when I was in college, I had to go up and talk to a girl. Okay, I didn't swipe.
Yeah,
swipe
but you're at the very front end of millennials today. That's true.
That's true. So Linda goes on to say this, quote, if you have somebody who is good at reading people and can respond accordingly, who is interested in their emotional well-being, they will be more effective when compared to the old style of managers, what we call Taylorian management, who doesn't do emotion in business. The young person would feel squashed under that old type of management. We need to be mindful that we're managing the younger generation more so than ever before. So she says that if you want to be effective, boomers, come and get to our level.
You're a little more emotional than the rest of us mature boomers.
If you want to be successful boomer manager, try to step up your game to our emotional intelligence.
Hang on.
That's what it says.
Okay, I'm going to practice.
Facts.
I'm going to practice. I'm so sorry, son. I'm really upset that we've not been the way we need to be.
Wow.
Really?
So, man, what a perfect segue to the preeminent, the number one, the foundational article of emotional intelligence was written by the guy of the name Daniel Goleman.
Written by a boomer.
It was published in Harvard Business Review.
Written by a boomer.
I think I read it. I read it in a Harvard.
Did you say preeminent?
Yeah.
Boomer?
Yeah.
Well, see, how many preeminent articles about EQ have been written, emotional intelligence have been written by millennials? Zero. Excuse me.
So just so I understand, your premise is that if you aren't something, you can't write about. I don't understand your premise.
I'm just rolling with you. You said he was a preeminent, the foundational cornerstone writing on emotional intelligence written by, yes, a boomer. Has millennials?
So is your hot take that there is in fact one high performing boomer in the world? Is that what you're? Is because you're right. I guess that is a hot take.
That's a win, baby.
That's a win for me. So Goleman in I believe it was 2001, 2003, in early 2000s, he wrote an article called "What Makes a Leader" that was published in Harvard Business Review.
No, that's actually 98, son. That's 98.
Was it 98?
Yeah, 1998 HBR.
It has been a top 3 most reprinted article for HBR. And in this article, he says what really makes a leader is not his or her technical ability. It's not their ability to get work done and really drive. I mean, all the things that we think of stereotypical leaders. Right. It's about 5 things, and what Goleman calls your emotional intelligence. Those are your self-regulation, your social skill, your motivation, your empathy, and your self-awareness. These 5 key things, he says, that's what makes a leader. And why this is so important and why we bring it up is because it truly is more important today than ever before. All jokes aside, yes, do I think it's crazy to think that millennials generally have a higher level of emotional intelligence than boomers?
No, not happening.
Not happening. But I think boomers, millennials, and X's generally have low levels of emotional intelligence in the workplace. I think that they're equally poor.
Here's a serious question for you. How much of that is actually behavioral profile based? It's personality based. Do certain behavioral profiles just naturally have better emotional intelligence? Is as we like to say, leadership's not generational, it's relational. Is emotional intelligence the same? Is it relational or more driven by who you are in your personality style?
Now, So I think that based on your personality style, again, Pops, we are big fans of DISC. If you were on the people side of that vertical axis, then I would say you are more apt to. It's comes easier, but I don't think that emotional intelligence is something much like I don't think intelligence is something that you're born with. I think it's something you work at. Right. I'm a growth mindset person, leveraging Carol Dweck and her research. I believe that that's something that you work at. Right. And I think there are certain personality styles, much like with communication or other things, that you're maybe more natural at. Okay, I don't naturally tend towards details and data and deep analytics. Doesn't mean I can't do it. Doesn't mean I can't work at it. Right. But it doesn't come easy. I don't enjoy it. And you could say the same thing about emotional intelligence.
Yeah, so, I think that's fair. I mean, I think anybody, regardless of where they fall, can learn some very basic things. A lot of it comes down to the first part of what Goleman's saying. It's about self-regulation. It's that awareness issue. And therein seems to be a real disconnect, son, from my experiences. A lot of people are so focused or driven or disconnected or whatever, that their awareness of what's going on around them is pretty terrible. We talked about, you mentioned the last show, we talked about cell phones. I won a little bit, not much. I kind of got my butt kicked. But anyway, what we found out is that one of the real awareness issues is the CEO who says, hey, you guys need to focus. And then they go in the back of the room during a meeting and get on their cell phone. That's a real EQ problem.
It is. And, Pops, is there nothing more devastating to a team and ultimately to that leader when the leader lacks self-awareness? I mean, that is the number one most painful thing to watch and to deal with, is when you have someone that thinks they're great at X, blank, whatever, right. And they lack that awareness to realize they're not. I mean, that blind spot, the tool that we use for that is Johari's window, and leveraging that and finding what, someone's blind spot is. I mean, it's brutal. When you've worked for a leader that has a big blind spot, it's tough. Why is it so tough? Because the leader has no idea. Yeah. I mean, when
let's give people a reference. All right. So if you're not following the whole social awareness and skills and emotional intelligence, think Michael Scott. Okay. Office. Think Michael Scott. I cannot even watch that show.
He's uncomfortable. He lacks self-regulation, social skill, empathy, self-awareness. But actually, he's pretty motivated. He has that going for him.
Yeah, he is the poster child for Daniel Goleman. Yeah. What not to do. Right?
Oh, my word. And what I want to talk about, Pop, is I want to transition. I think people have an understanding of really what it is. We'll post a link to that article on our show page like we always do.
Yes.
I mean, go read it. In my opinion, it's required reading.
Yeah, 20 years old, instant classic, though.
We teach leadership development all over the world, and that is a must-read article. We really we teach it. We drive people. You have to read it. You have to read it. So those 5 key things, I want to unpack. Pops, why is it so much more important in 2017 than it was in 1987 or 1957? I mean, give me your hot take on that. Why has it changed? Give me a quick history lesson on why it's so much more important today than it was 30 years or 50 years ago.
Well, I mean, frankly, the workplace, in the 50s, to use your starting point, was a fairly Neanderthal compared to what it is today in terms of people's awareness of all kinds of things. I mean, women weren't really in the workplace, and so there was a certain way of thinking and talking about women that was very accepted back then that would just make people fall out of their chairs today. Right. You don't do that thing. Right. Watch Mad Men, you'll get it. And then as you fast forward and you begin to have much more influx of various different types of people that weren't there. I mean, listen, United States commerce was prototypically driven by the white male, right? Through the 40s, 50s, 60s, that kind of thing. And now you've got this huge diversity and huge group of people who come in who have different thought processes and ideals and ways of looking at the world. We talked and have talked many times about the generational issues now. And that's another big point of difference. One of the significant problems that exist with boomer managers is they want to do with the word millennials what we would never let people do with the word women or females or Hispanics or African Americans, as you and I experienced, right? So we had a particular client that was saying, well, these millennials, they do this, and these millennials, they're guilty of that.
Stereotyping and discriminating against.
On a data set of, I think, three interactions or something like that. Yeah. And so we stopped and said, let me ask you a question. Would you be comfortable substituting the word woman or female? Would you be comfortable substituting the word Hispanic or African American? And the answer was, well, absolutely not. Then why would you group an entire group of people into one big box? I mean, it's the one thing that we're trying to get away with. And that's emotional intelligence. And I think what it says, son, is emotional intelligence is something that's ever growing, ever changing. I mean, you really have to have your radar out, but it's not just about diversity. It's not just about those things. It's about understanding the needs of people. And the Taylorian management that you referenced, Frederick Winslow Taylor, who kind of gave us that command and control style of management back in the industrial age. They didn't care about the worker. In fact,
there was the workman. It was management and workman. And workman was defined as uneducated, poor, and was incapable of anything. Yes.
Ignorant, stupid, right? So you had a real thought process that said, I mean, literally, I'm superior to you. There was an arrogance that bought into it. So as that style of management has sort of perpetuated itself through the generations, I think that what Goldman locked onto in the late 90s was, gosh, we've got a lot of people out there who have no sense of people and motivation and how to get the best of people and what they're missing. I mean, there was a Cornell University study done several years ago that said very clearly from the research data, harsh, hard driving, win at all costs managers are far less effective than managers who understand people and have good people skills. It doesn't mean, and we don't want to give people the wrong idea, it's not, if you can hold hands around a campfire and sing
That's
Kumbaya.
Not what it is. It's not what it is.
No, it's about understanding people and the empathy towards some of their thoughts and ideas and perceptions and giving some credence to those things.
That's right. No, I think it for so many reasons, it's more important. And I believe, by the way, that even when Goldman wrote it in 98, I think it's become even more important since 98, my opinion. I think that we have moved away from a single ideal, a single way of doing things. And as you bring that in, look, we're not saying it's a hippie, open your mind. I mean, we're not, no. It's not akin to that.
Let's make it simple. It's people skills.
It's people skills. And it's an awareness of yourself. So it's those two things kind of molded together. And I think because the way that the millennial has entered the workplace and is not afraid to say, here's where you can stick that standard operating procedure, or telling me to sit down and shut up, or I got to be in my chair at 7:55 and have to stay there till 5:05. I mean, because of that, we've talked about a lot on this show. Because of it, I can find a job in 10 minutes on LinkedIn on my phone. We're not putting up with it.
Yeah, but here's the opposite side of that as we begin to get sort of that generational clash. In fact, I had a really interesting conversation with a millennial a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about this very topic. And he said, I would have no problem confronting a leader and telling him his idea was stupid or, it didn't make sense and all that. And I'm like, do you not understand that just because you know something or that you think or you actually are smarter than someone doesn't necessarily mean that the better part of propriety is to tell people they're stupid or better than they do. That's emotional intelligence, right?
Goldman would call that self-regulation. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly you don't have to tell everything right?
Right.
And if you don't understand that there is hierarchy, whether you like it or not, I mean, the reality is you can have a really good manager, really effective leader, someone who really cares about people. And listen, they can make mistakes. They can be wrong. It's not, unless you've given each other permission. Emotional intelligence says, hey, I don't call him out in front of other people in a room. That's bad play. Right? I don't do that.
That's exactly right. And I think the data proves this out too, Pops. I mean, in the book Emotional Intelligence 2.0, there's some really, really fascinating stats. Individuals that score higher than average on emotional intelligence assessments make $29,000 more annually than their counterparts.
Yes.
More than 9 out of 10 of high performers score above the average on emotional intelligence scores. I mean, so this isn't a touchy-feely kumbaya, let's hold hands. Again, we don't do this for fun. We do it because there's a return on investment here, right? There's a high performance thing here. And if you want to have a team that's engaged, you have to have a high level of emotional intelligence. And we know engagement is a key metric of 22% higher top line, just over 30% higher bottom line, fewer safety incidents, boom. I mean, we go on and on and on and on. So this topic, this isn't a nice to have anymore. This isn't something that you can just maybe do. And oh, by the way, it's easy to beat up boomers here, but millennial, I mean, it's for all leaders.
Oh, no question. Well, here's my first hot take then. It is this. When you have low EQ, when your intelligence quotient, emotional intelligence quotient is low, it's because you're acting selfishly and you're acting out of what you want, and you don't really have an awareness of people. Right. But here's what's counterintuitive about it. If you really want to be selfish, learning how to be good with people will actually make you more money. It'll make your organization better. So, hey, if you really want to be selfish, learn how not to be selfish so that you can get exactly what you want. I mean, in the end, when it's all said and done, we're trying to put more pennies in the till, right?
Pop, your Oklahoma small-minded reasoning there just blew my mind. I can't even. My master's degree mind is hurting. That was so profound.
I was getting off in that neuroscience.
You're getting into it. No, you're exactly right. But here's why. Right? We don't engage with emotional intelligence. We don't try to do things differently because, man, change is hard and it's painful and we don't like it.
Yeah.
So I would rather people do it my way that I've always done it because I don't want to change because change is, that's not for me. You just got in you've been here 10 minutes and you're going to try to tell me what to do. You know, I have shoes older than you. Like we're not going to do that. We're not making
But that's a lack of awareness as well. I mean, that's kind of a typical millennial thing, right? I want to pop in 5 minutes, start telling you've been here 10 years, how you should do things different. Again, you might have some credence, but you know who I'm going to listen to? I was having this conversation exactly with somebody yesterday, and guess who we were talking about? Your New England Patriots, right?
Tom Brady.
Ever. Greatest ever. Whatever. Yeah. So I was saying, listen, if they bring in a brand new first-round draft pick, can you imagine this guy? He's highly paid, highly touted, first-round draft pick. He walks into Bill Belichick's office after the first practice and sits down and puts his feet up on the desk and says, Bill, got a couple of things I think we need to talk about. Maybe some things we need to do different, right? Because, clearly I know I'm kind of a big deal. I mean, I'm first round pick, big money. Yeah. He's going to say, son, tell you what, why don't you fill in your favorite expletives and get on out. But if Tom Brady walks in and says, Bill, got some things we need to talk about, what's he going to say? All right, what do you got? Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Because he's earned that right. That lack of emotional awareness, sensitivity to people I think I see it in that vein with millennials. I see it in a different vein with the boomer managers who does things quite differently. So there's enough to go around.
I think you're right. And we would say, along with Covey and Collins and many others, that leadership is influence. Sure. And you have to earn the right to influence people.
Yes.
Okay. Let's be really clear.
Yes.
You have to earn the right to influence people. Seneca said that leadership is not a title. And that's exactly right. So when you walk in, even if you are that leader on day one, right? You have to be open and communicate and learn, build trust. And once you build that trust, you earn the right to influence people. And Pop, what you just described, many millennials think I come in, I need to make a splash or I need to get things done. Boomers do it from the other perspective, right? They need to come in and shake things up and, shut that down. And I want to look at everything stops, right? But we haven't earned the right to influence other people. We say it almost every week on the show. Leadership is the science and art of getting things done through other people. And if you want to do that, you want to do it well, you have to have a high level of emotional intelligence. I mean, otherwise you are going to fail. I mean, you're not going to be successful.
Hot take number 2, and that is simple. Listen, earn the right to give people advice before you start telling everything you know. It doesn't mean that you don't know a lot of things. It just means that your emotional intelligence has led you to understand that's a bad play. It's like a sales guy asking for an order too early when you haven't earned the right to do business yet. We do it in the workplace all the time, and you and I see it with both millennials and boomers.
That's exactly right.
Become a new leader, I'm going to go change everything. And listen, unless there's a crisis is a little different. Unless there's a crisis, you need to go in and gain trust with your people.
That's exactly right. Pops, we get this question all the time. I'm trying to coach this person, but they always think I'm criticizing them.
Hello.
Okay. The number one reason that your coaching comes across as criticism is low emotional intelligence. You do it at the wrong place, the wrong time, the wrong way. You haven't built that relationship yet. They don't trust you. Okay. You can't come in on day one and say, hey, let me give you some coaching. Dude, you don't know me. What are you doing? Give me coaching? Like, no.
Playoffs? We're talking playoffs?
And that's in your Tom Brady going into Belichick discussion. I mean, Brady wouldn't go in with a bravado and hey, I'm Tom freaking Brady. Here's what we're going to do. He would go in and say, Coach, I've been studying a lot of film.
No, he would go in and say this. He would say, hold my beer. And then he would go in.
He would say, Giselle told me last night. No, he would walk in with a humility and say, Coach, I know, because he's doing his job. He's watching tape. He's doing it the right way.
Yeah.
That's when he has earned the right to influence Coach, right? I mean, that's the difference. That first round draft pick has not earned that right yet. And that is something that you must do. And, look, do I think our millennials have a high level of emotional intelligence? In some ways, yes. In a lot of ways, absolutely not, right? I would say the same thing for boomers.
Right.
There was a great article actually on Inc., And there's, 7, one of these great clickbait articles, right? 7 things millennials do that show a low emotional intelligence. And
only 7? I can think of way more than 7.
Yeah. What this article is saying, what makes us look unprofessional. And, one of them I think is interesting because it's almost counterintuitive to the conversation we're having, but it's that millennials are often afraid to critique, afraid to give criticism. The author says that offering constructive criticism is one of the most important things a leader can do to improve its team, to develop its team.
Right.
Millennials, who are often people pleasers and who have never been given criticism,
right,
are usually too afraid to share their honest opinions in the place of progress, right? So right. I think, again, when we unpack that and we think about it, since we've always been the center of attention, we've never received criticism. The idea of actually sitting down and having a critical conversation with someone, I mean, it's petrifying. I mean, I am paralyzed with fear. So I think for millennials, we need to understand that accountability, giving constructive criticism, these are drivers of trust, team building, of bringing people together. And you have to, in order to do that well, engage your emotional intelligence, right? Things like self-awareness, your social skill, your ability to, develop relationships to drive the project or the initiative forward. So look, this goes both ways. We could talk for 4 hours about this topic.
Absolutely.
But I think it's really important. So Pops, from a boomer perspective, be very stereotypical. What do our boomer managers need to do differently to engage emotional intelligence and to be a better leader?
Well, I think first and foremost is to come to an understanding that people are people. They're not chess pieces to move around and sort of manipulate at your will. These are people who are willing to give you enormous amounts of performance if you'll treat them like people. So I think the first thing you have to do is, you have to learn to have real conversations with people. Number 2, you got to learn how to treat people like adults. I mean, even if they're inexperienced or immature, they're still adults and they should be treated in that sense. I think, we talk about it so much as aligning those expectations. That's part of treating someone like an adult. Let me explain to you the kind of people we are and the way we do things and how we'd like to see things go. But to me, the whole concept of emotional intelligence comes down to one very simple factor. When you make people feel valued, they are going to respond to you.
That's right.
And it's so easy to get focused on tasks or results or get tunnel vision. And when you lose sight of people and making them feel important or valuable, then your EQ has plummeted as far as I'm concerned.
That's exactly right. And Pop, we see this all the time in the workplace, especially with our middle manager layer, manager director. Very, very, the numbers support this almost always, right? In the 80th percentile, a boomer. And they have grown up in that Taylorian management. I say jump, you say how high, which requires this much emotional intelligence.
Right.
And so it's a complete mindset shift. We teach this all the time, that a great leader doesn't get out of bed and think, what do I need to do to be successful today? It's what do I need to do to make my people successful today? Yes. And that mindset shift is completely different, because that implies that your people, you know what they need, you know what they want, you know what they're working on, what they're scared of, what they love. I mean, all of these things about that I'm their boss, I'm not their friend.
Yeah. How many times have we gone in? How many times have we gone in and done disc profiles and watched executives go, oh, so that's why he does that, right? It's a very simple little emotional intelligence thing. It says, wait, everybody doesn't act the same for a reason, because they have different personality styles. It's a big eye opener. Well, hey, the music says we got to get out of here. Tell me what your hot take is for this session.
For me, it's all about understanding that relationships, leadership is relational. It's all about the relationship. Go read Goleman's article. Figure out where you are. There's 100 free emotional intelligence EQ assessments. Take one, know where you need to get better, drive up that self-awareness, and be a better leader.
Great stuff. That's Robby Riggs. Follow him on Twitter at Robby Riggs. I'm Kelly Riggs at Kelly Riggs. Follow us both, Counter Mentors at Counter Mentors. Find out much more about us, including where you can get the podcast on iTunes at countermentors.com. That's going to wrap it up.
Come on! Thanks for tuning into Counter Mentors with Kelly and Robby Riggs. For more information about the show, to listen to past shows, or to learn more about how Kelly and Robby teach companies the counter-mentoring process, visit countermentors.com. The Counter Mentor Show is presented by One-on-One Media, Incorporated. All rights reserved. Opinions expressed by guests on the show may not be the opinions of One-on-One Media or the host of The Counter Mentor Show.